Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Careers in School Psychology information session and panel this evening. We are all glad that you could join us. My name's Maureen Muldoon from SuccessWorks, the College of Letters and Science, and I'm a career and internship specialist with students who have an interest in health, environment, and research-related careers. And I meet with a lot of students who have an interest in different mental health related careers and have a lot of conversations about working with kids in different helping professions and school psychology. So I'm happy to help kick off this session again. So from the Department of Educational Psychology, from the School of Education, we have our co-program directors, Katie Eklund and Andy Garbitz, and some current students who are going to share their experience with you of being in the school psychology program at UW-Madison. And I just want to let you all know there's one more event going on that actually is tomorrow. It's an alumni event, Taste of Success, Clinical and Mental Health. And I've included the link in the chat for you to check that out. Alumni who really enjoy giving back and sharing their experience with students. So if that's of interest, that's tomorrow at noon. And with that, Katie, I will pass it off to you and to Andy. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Maureen, for organizing, and thank you everyone for being here. We really appreciate it. We certainly are excited to talk to you about the field of school psychology and then tell you a little bit more about our program here at UW-Madison. So thank you everyone for joining. I'll start with introductions. We have two faculty here that are going to talk to you a little bit about the program, and then we also have two current students in the program. So I thought if we could start with introductions of ourselves, but if you're joining the call, it'd also be great to learn about you. So if you wouldn't mind in the chat box, if you would put in your name, maybe what year you are at UW-Madison and what you're studying. And then if you have any questions that you were hoping to have answered today, we'd love to be able to tailor the presentation to make sure it fits the needs of everyone who's here. So if you feel comfortable, if you could just put your name, your year, your field of study, and then if you have any specific questions for us, that's great. And if you don't have any right away, that's okay too. We'll have time at the end and are happy to answer questions as we go. But otherwise, we'll have the next 55 minutes together and aim to wrap up at 6:30. So I will go ahead and start. My name is Katie Eklund. I'm an associate professor in the school psychology program, and I co-direct the program with Andy. And this is the beginning of my fourth year at UW-Madison. Prior to this, I worked as a practitioner in the schools for 10 years, first as a school social worker, as a mental health coordinator of a large school district, and then as a school psychologist. So I came into this role kind of in a different route and then have been a faculty member really for the last, I think, 8 or 9 years. So really happy to be here and to talk to you more about the field of school psychology. I can popcorn it to Andy.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. It's great to be with you all today. I'm Andy Garbitz, also an associate professor in the school psychology program and co-direct the program with Katie. I joined the program here at UW-Madison in 2016. Before that, I was on faculty at the University of Oregon and originally a graduate of the University of Nebraska at Lincoln School Psychology Program. I've had the chance to work in a few different settings, including schools, community mental health, primary care, and pediatric setting. So I'm really looking forward to talking with you today and learning more about your interests and questions. And I will popcorn over to Brittany.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brittany. I'm a fourth year in the school psych program. I'm advised by Andy Garbitz. Before that, I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and then I completed my undergraduate degree at the University of Missouri in Columbia, where I majored in psychology and sociology and minored in social work. And I think that's it. I'll popcorn it to Kim.
Thank you, Brittany. It's so good to see you. My name is Kim. I am a second year EDS student, so master's level. And I am originally from New Jersey, but I went to undergrad here at UW and I majored in human development and family studies, and got a certificate in education and educational services. I think that was it. Yeah.
That's perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Kim. We have some slides that I'm going to share with everyone, and our lineup for today. So let me put this into PowerPoint mode. Here we go. So all of you, I think, are joining from campus. You know what a beautiful campus we have, especially this time of the year. And we went through introductions of the two of us. Our last slide today has our email addresses for everybody that's on the call this evening. So if you have questions, feel free to follow up with us as well. This is a picture of our students and our faculty at the terrace. Wow, this was like 2 years ago, pre-pandemic, and one of my favorite photos of our program. So super excited to tell you more about all the things we love about school psychology. And then we went through introductions of our current students. They shared this information with you. And this is some of our current students over here on the right, sharing information about school psychology, which next week is National School Psychology Week. And we'll be doing something similar actually in the psychology building, hopefully. So you can stop by and talk to more current students then if you're interested. I think we'll be there on Wednesday. So exciting times. So just wanted to start with a land acknowledgement. The University of Wisconsin-Madison occupies ancestral Ho-Chunk land, a place their nation has called Des-Jope since time immemorial. In an 1832 treaty, the Ho-Chunk were forced to cede this territory. Decades of ethnic cleansing followed when both the federal and state government repeatedly but unsuccessfully sought to forcibly remove the Ho-Chunk from Wisconsin. This history of colonization informs our shared future of collaboration and innovation. Today, UW-Madison respects the inherent sovereignty of the Ho-Chunk Nation, along with the 11 other First Nations of Wisconsin. So certainly want to recognize the land that we occupy here at UW-Madison. So today for our presentation, we'll start by telling you a little bit about the field of school psychology. If you're new to learning about school psychology or aren't sure what a school psychologist does, we want to provide an overview of that. So I'll start with that section and then I'll kick it over to Andy, who's going to tell you more information about our 2-degree programs. We have a 5-year PhD program, and we also have a 3-year educational specialist degree program, which is our equivalent of like an advanced master's degree, 2 years of coursework and then 1 full year of internship. But we'll tell you about that during the second half. And then we will leave time at the end for our 2 lovely students, Kim and Brittany, to share a little bit more about their experiences in the program and then answer any questions that you might have, certainly from a current student perspective. So really happy to have them here. All right, so the first slide, what is or who are school psychologists? School psychologists are individuals who have a graduate degree. So both of our degree programs here would certify you to work as a licensed school psychologist in the state of Wisconsin or across the country. School psychologists provide comprehensive psychological and educational services to diverse students, predominantly in pre-K through 12 settings, but also work in other areas, which we'll share information about. School psychologists support students' social, emotional, and mental health and well-being, and then really are focused on helping children address any barriers to learning that they might have. We want to show children what pro-social positive behaviors look like and help them on a positive developmental trajectory. So what do school psychologists do? My favorite part of this field is that every day is totally different, that when you're practicing, you get to do a broad range of services across assessment, whether you might be administering assessment for a child who's being considered for a specific learning disability. We do a lot of mental health work and interventions in schools as far as leading small groups, therapeutic groups with kids, working one-on-one with a student who might be having some academic difficulty or behavioral challenges, and really provide just a broad range of services to kids and families. We also do a lot with consultation and collaboration with families who might have a concern about their child, working with teachers who might see something going on in a classroom who want to consult with an expert, and then also serving as educational leaders, working alongside principals, superintendents, directors of special education. I'm always surprised when I'm working with local schools about the number of educational leaders who were trained as school psychologists and go on to become principals or directors of special education, or even superintendents. So it's really cool to see that you get this amazing skill set that allow you to go on and do lots of different things. And then certainly our field is really focused on diversity, equity, and social justice. We want all kids to have equitable access to learning and to strong social, emotional, and behavioral outcomes. So lots of different roles that you might have as a school psych. So when do children need to see a school psychologist? So if we're thinking about work in a pre-K through 12 setting, these might be some of the challenges that kids might be facing in school and a reason that they would be seeing you. So this might be kids who have a family issue or concern going on, who might have an either unidentified or identified mental health concern, kids who might be struggling to get along with others at school, or to feel like they belong in a classroom. And then certainly kids who might be having, might be exposed to some type of crisis, whether that be, some type of school violence, abuse, racial trauma, or other natural disasters that we know happen at school. So lots of different reasons that we know kids might be coming to see you and seeking your support and help. Most school psychologists we know work in K through 12 schools, and we can show you what that looks like. About 86% of graduates across the country find their home in public schools. Another 10% work in colleges and universities. So that might be in an academic research position. It might be as a clinical faculty member. We have 2 clinical faculty members in our program who oversee our school psychology training clinic and see children and families here on campus. There are, I know, school psychologists that go on to work in health services on college campuses. So lots of different avenues. About 8% are in private schools, about another 7% in faith-based schools. And then graduates from our doctoral program or from a PhD program have the opportunity to become licensed psychologists. So depending upon the state you're in, with your PhD and potentially some postdoctoral hours, you can become a licensed psychologist if that might be of interest to you. So we do have graduates that go into private practice, and then a smaller percentage that work at the state level in a Department of Education, or at a clinical and hospital setting. So like a children's hospital or some type of community mental health. So lots of different places that you can work. As you can see, these numbers don't add up to 100%. So we find that folks sometimes work and have joint positions where there may be a part-time school psychologist and also engaged in private practice, or are an adjunct faculty at a university and working at a children's hospital. So lots of ways that you can use your degree in an applied fashion. Okay, so what do you need? We don't have any prerequisites for our particular course of study. So we do find that we have a lot of graduates coming into our program with an undergrad degree in psychology, in human development, child development, sociology, social work, education. So lots of related fields, but that doesn't mean you have to. We certainly have had folks that have gotten a degree from this in a business program and then decided they wanted to do something different. And that's completely fine. We find that preparation for graduate school is helpful in these areas, but not necessary. And then certainly if you've had experience working with children and youth in a variety of settings, so whether that be tutoring after school, working at a summer camp or YMCA, or YWCA. There's lots of opportunities to work with kids to determine if you feel like this is a career path for you. Okay. The job demand for school psychologists is excellent. It's one of the top rated positions across the country. And federal law includes provisions for school psych services. So you'll find most public schools are required to hire a school psychologist. And certainly there's a shortage across the country, which we don't like to see, but it does ensure job security for individuals who might be looking for a job either here in Wisconsin, maybe in your home state or somewhere else. Most states are looking for folks that want to come in and be a school psychologist. And there's a particular need for professionals from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. Similar to the field of education, we find that the majority of our workforce is white, yet over half of the public school students in our country are students from racially and ethnically minoritized backgrounds. And so really looking to diversify our field and ensure that we have a number of professionals who come from a variety of lived experiences, identities, and backgrounds to be able to work effectively with kids and families. So school psychology, I think is a great career choice. I think I love being a school psychologist and really find that there's a number of positive outcomes. Certainly, you have a nice flexible school schedule. If you work in a K through 12 school, you get to do lots of different things and work with many different stakeholders. So this is a picture of our graduates from a few years ago. And then one more picture, which I think makes me really happy because we just did this a couple weeks ago. This was a tailgate that we did outside. So we were all able to finally be back together in person this fall. And this was us enjoying some time before one of the UW football games. So certainly nice to be together. I will go ahead and kick it over to Andy to share some more information about our programs.
Great, thanks, Katie, for that great overview of the field. So I'm thrilled to share with you a bit more specific information about our school psychology program. So we'll take a little bit of time doing an overview of our PhD and EdS degree programs. So you see here some of the main aims of our school psychology program. So within our program, students receive really broad and in-depth training within several foundational areas that you see listed in point number 1. Areas such as professional behaviors, interpersonal skills, communication, and of course, ethical, legal, and professional standards, as well as individual and cultural diversity. We also discuss assessment, evidence-based intervention strategies, those approaches that will help you in your work directly with a range of stakeholders that Katie mentioned, such as families, educators, and students themselves. And then we do a fairly deep review of the science of psychology and the science that underlies school psychology, including the different areas that encompass our work, such as research, measurement, and evaluation. So that's a very careful review of our aims of the program, but of course our real goal is to make you really great school psychologists who are ready to make a positive impact in the lives of children and families in whatever different setting your career may take you in the future. So next we'll review just a sample coursework that you might expect to see were you to join our program. So we take courses in evidence-based interventions, things like counseling, therapy, and different school-based interventions that you would use with teachers and students to help support their academic skill development or social emotional competencies, as well as cognitive behavior and academic assessment to better understand how and in what ways you might be able to best serve those students. Of course, we have broad and deep training in diversity and multiculturalism to better understand how to work with a range of students and stakeholders and tailor practices and approaches to align well with their values, culture, and beliefs. and consultation and collaboration. School psychology is a very interpersonal profession, in that we work with others throughout every day. And so consulting with individuals and collaborating, working on teams becomes really central to what we do. You'll also take courses in school safety and crisis response to better understand how to respond in certain circumstances and create environments that are safe, effective, and positive. Once you make the decision to apply to school psychology, you'll have the choice to select a degree program. And as Katie mentioned, in our program, we have an educational specialist, a specialist level, or that advanced master's, which is 2 years on campus, plus a 1-year full-time internship, or a doctoral level option, which is 5 years of full-time study, including 4 years on campus, plus a 1-year internship. At the specialist level, that prepares you to work as a school psychologist in schools, or an administrator, as Katie mentioned too. And then at the doctoral level, it opens up a few more career options, such as working at a college, a university, a research setting, a clinical setting, and certainly also within schools as well. You may also choose to work in independent practice in your work as supporting children and families. A few highlights of the EDS program. Within the EDS program, you will receive a balance of courses, fieldwork, and research opportunities. Both in our PhD program and in our EDS program, students start their training in schools. So from day one, you'll be working in schools and just obtain more in-depth training as your time in the program proceeds. So that would include 2 years of coursework plus practicum experiences in both of those years. And then you'll also have some experience in a clinic practicum during the summer just following year one. The internship opportunities for students in the EDS program are great. You can see that these are paid internship positions, and particularly in Wisconsin, you're paid at a variable, reasonable rate between $30,000 and $40,000 on your pre-EDS internship. But also you would receive pay. You could do a paid internship at different places across the country as well. You're certainly not limited to an internship in Wisconsin. The PhD program similarly includes a balance of coursework, fieldwork, and research experiences. The main distinction between the programs, the PhD program, and what you might experience in the EDS program is that the PhD program includes more clinical training and additional opportunities to specialize in different clinical or school-based training, different field-based options in the Madison community or sometimes across the country. And so in addition, there's more in-depth research training. Of course, as part of your doctoral program, you would complete a dissertation as a primary culminating activity in your program, where you would choose a certain area that you'd like to do a more in-depth study in, complete that study, and defend your dissertation, typically before you would go on internship, but certainly at the conclusion of your internship year, you'd have that complete. At the PhD program, you would be prepared to be licensed as a school psychologist, just like you would as a graduate of the specialist level program. But in the PhD program, you would also be prepared to sit for a licensure exam as a licensed psychologist. And there's some other licensure opportunities that might open up for you as well. There are internship opportunities for the PhD program in different places across the country. And students in our program historically have received internship positions at places like Baltimore, at Johns Hopkins, in Omaha, Nebraska, at the Nebraska Medical Center, and certainly in other places across the country as well, such as Nationwide Children's Hospital and School Psychology Internship Consortium, such as the Illinois School Psychology Internship Consortium. I did notice one question in the chat that asked about whether a master's degree was part of both of these programs. Indeed, there is a master's degree that you will earn along the way to a terminal specialist degree or a terminal doctoral degree. And so that is sort of taken care of along the way during your time in the program. Here's a bit more detail about internships that I reviewed. So you can see, in addition to Johns Hopkins University and the University of Nebraska Medical Center at the Monroe Meyer Institute, there's a few other places that students have secured internships most recently, but certainly this isn't an exhaustive list, and your options are nearly limitless, it seems, with nearly every city across the country having a predoctoral internship that could be applied to. A bit of information about funding for students in our PhD and specialist level programs. Students in the PhD program may have opportunities for fellowships, assistantships, and there's also training grant opportunities for students in the PhD program. And so that means if you're a student on a training grant, that you might have more in-depth study in certain content areas. For example, we have a training grant, a doctoral training grant right now in prevention science, but then there's also assistantship opportunities where you would work with a faculty member, usually, as well as with other graduate students in collaboration on different research projects, most commonly aligned with an area that you're really interested in as well. So you might have an assistantship working with a faculty member where you're supporting data collection or implementing interventions in schools or different community settings in the Madison area. For students in the EdS program, there are also training grant opportunities where you might receive more specific or advanced training in, for example, working with children with autism spectrum disorder, or as part of a problem-solving team, working on tier 1 or school-wide applications of different approaches to promoting student well-being in schools. And so those are just two examples of training grants that faculty members here have right now. And then you'll also have opportunities to have assistantship appointments or hourly appointments working on similar kinds of research projects with faculty. But indeed, we have several different opportunities for funding across our department and school. Students will sometimes obtain hourly appointments or other assistantship funding through faculty or different entities within the psychology department or the School of Human Ecology, as well as other entities on campus. Here's a few details about our application process. So this is prime time if you happen to be looking for to apply to our program right away. Applications are due December 1st. With our application, you would include a CV or a resume, 3 letters of recommendation, transcripts, of course, of prior academic study. You'll have a personal statement or an essay that you will prepare that will describe your journey towards applying to our program, some of your goals for graduate training, and perhaps even your goals after graduating from our program. And we no longer require GRE scores as part of the application.
Okay, so thank you, Andy. That was great. Really appreciate it. This is our students when we were virtual. And probably still are for some things, but I'm happy to be back in person. But wanted to turn it over to Kim and to Brittany, who are here with us today, to tell us a little bit more about some of the school psychology programs, if that might be helpful for you to learn about some of the different organizations that we have, and then to tell you a little bit about their experience in the program. So Kim or Brittany, I can turn it over to you if you'd like to share some more about one of these committees and what they do and kind of what your experience has been with them.
Yeah, I can speak a bit about SPSA and DIA. So SPSA is our student organization that everyone is automatically a part of just by being a part of our program. And SPSA has monthly meetings in which we all get together and talk about various things that impact student life within the program. SPSA is also sort of a constant communication between faculty members and students, to where at SPSA meetings as students, we can all talk about things that are then delivered to the faculty meetings. And so the faculty is always has an ear into any comments, questions, concerns we have as students. And there's just like a constant line of communication. For SPSA, we also have a lot of social events. So it's both dealing with our like academic needs, but also a way to be a community as students. And there are a variety of social events that happen within SPSA that oftentimes include the faculty as well. So it's just a way for our program to just have more of a community feel. And DIA, the Diversity and Inclusion Association, is a part of is department-wide. So it includes the other programs within our departments, and faculty and students get together to do various events that are sometimes educational, sometimes more social events, but they're all focused around different social justice and equity initiatives. So we've had events focused on LGBTQ+ issues or neurodiversity or race relations, and just a variety of different ways in which our students and our faculty are constantly dedicated to learning more and finding different ways in which we can incorporate these different initiatives into our research and practice, and just who we are as people.
Thank you, Brittany.
So I can talk about the recruitment, retention, and outreach committee, and then I guess the rest of them, because I've kind of had the opportunity to dabble. Thanks so much for that really great introduction, Brittany, and kind of overview of DIA and SPSA. So as a first year student, we were all virtual. And so that left a lot of time to do things, which was a really great opportunity. I kind of was able to go to a lot of these different meetings. So recruitment, retention, outreach is kind of our programs committee focused on trying to get students at the undergraduate and at the high school level involved with school psychology and kind of give them more information, like we are doing right now. So kind of just communicating with people that might be interested in the field of school psychology, as well as just making sure that we are creating a welcoming environment for new students. So the RRO committee works on campus visit day, and things like social media, which is definitely something that I have spent a lot of my time on, and just making sure, kind of similar to what Brittany said, making sure that it like people's experience in the program and experience with the program is positive. And then the policy and advocacy committee does a lot of work to kind of work at that systems level and be advocates for change, kind of within graduate school, but across the field of school psychology. So recently the PAC committee actually kind of was working to get a Governor Evers to draft a proclamation. So that's going out on our social media soon, which is really exciting. So kind of doing work at not only with students, but work impacting students, hopefully in the long run, and making it so that working conditions for school psychologists and other professionals are great and promote well-being. And then the practicum committee really just works on making sure our training experiences are really meaningful to our students. So most recently, the practicum committee completed a diversity audit to make sure that kind of all of our practicum sequences weren't just kind of had the diversity day that practices around social justice and anti-racism were kind of interwoven throughout each sequence to ensure that we're trained as practitioners that are kind of advocates for social justice, and all really great opportunities to get involved in different aspects of kind of our program, but also at different kind of spearhead to be able to go to different things at different levels in the field of school psychology.
Great. Thank you, Kim. Really appreciate you sharing some more about the different committees you all have been a part of. This are students who are a part of our program. So I'll go through these pictures briefly. So some of our graduates who are attending professional conferences, but just allows you to see some of our different students. So questions for Kim and Brittany. Maybe we can do the first two questions and then open it up, since we have a small group here, to be able to ask whatever questions you might have. So the first question is, what were you looking for in a program when you applied? And then what were some of your favorite experience in the program to date? So I don't know if you want to start with one or the other, but would love to hear more of your feedback.
Yeah, I can go ahead. And I feel like mine kind of transitions into the other one. So if I could do like both back to back.
Perfect.
So initially when doing the process of researching different programs that I even wanted to apply to in the first place, the main thing that I initially would look for is a fit in terms of faculty that were doing research that was of interest to me and that aligned with what I was hoping to be doing in my own research. So that was step one. And then as I went through the application process and went through the interview process, something that was really important to me, all of the schools that I was applying to were going to be somewhat far away from home. It was going to be my first time really being far from home. So something that was really important to me was a good culture of the program and like a sense of community and just the way in which the program itself like facilitated its students and folks interacted with one another. So something during the interview process in particular, when I would be at the schools was really just that sense of what the culture was like. So when I came to UW-Madison's interview, something that really stood out to me was that it was just very apparent that there wasn't like a competitive nature to the program. It really felt like everyone who was there was very supportive of one another. And you could just tell that folks had a relationship outside of one just that was just professional. The faculty were all extremely approachable and just everyone felt very human. And just it made something that seemed really that is really like important and high stakes, but still felt very comfortable. And it was just that was something that was really telling to me. And then my favorite experiences in the program to date have been on one side of experiences would be the social gatherings that we've had with one another. So the things that we do outside of the classroom and outside of the research in terms of, like Katie mentioned, there was recently a tailgate that the program hosted. And so one of the tailgates in the past has been one of my favorite experiences. And at the beginning of the year in non-COVID times, there's always a program social at the terrace, which is always one of my favorite things. Honestly, interview day weekend has always been one of my favorite things, getting to talk to prospective students about what I love about the program and what I love about the field. But then on the other hand, the other side of the more program aspects of things would definitely be our practicum experiences. We are so fortunate to have so many diverse experiences right off the bat to actually take what we're learning in our classes and see what that looks like in the field and actually experience it ourselves. And so, as Katie mentioned, like we're working in the schools right away during our first year. So being in the schools, seeing what school psychs are actually doing in the field alongside of our coursework where we're learning about it is just really special and really helps you get a holistic view of what the field looks like and what you want to do. And then also working in our clinic to get another view of what a school psych's job might look like day to day have all been some of my favorite experiences. Kim, I'll pass it on to you.
Thanks, Brittany. And I think it's funny, I guess would be the word for it, but I hopefully you will all hear that my answers are really similar to Brittany's. Not because I'm copying her, but because I think that's like a really common thing in our program that we all kind of share a lot of this like same favorite aspects of it and like things that really we think make our program so great. But I'll start, I guess, kind of went forward a little bit, but to back up. So when I was applying to programs, I applied to both EDS programs and PhD programs. And similarly, I was really looking at were the faculty within programs doing research that I felt really passionate about, as well as kind of thinking about where could I see myself. Being in undergrad here really made me love Madison. So I was a little biased in that respect, but just thinking about where could I see myself being for either 2, 3, or 5 years. And then I think like kind of as Brittany described, like the vibe was really important for me. Just like how I felt when I was there on interview day. Just I weighted that really heavily. And I think that really speaks to, I guess, just how wonderful our program is that like, I guess the minute, even though I've spent so much time on campus here, like the minute I was like at interview day, I was just like, this is it, like, this is the place, because it is such a great atmosphere and community. So that was kind of what I was looking for. Definitely like program related components around wanting to have experiences in the school and kind of research wise, those are really important to me, as well as kind of the community aspects. And I would say that my favorite experiences have been anytime I get to spend with my cohort and really any of the people in the program. I think even though like most of my time has been in the COVID era, I like could not feel closer to the people in my cohort and the people in other cohorts. I just think that like all of the people in the program are like some of my favorite humans. And I think the absolute world of all the students and faculty in the program. So anytime I get to spend with them is just super lovely. We had a potluck most recently that I went to before the tailgate. Just like within different, it was like all of the cohorts, and it was really nice to just chat with everyone and constantly be like inspired and just like reminded of like, these are the people that I want to be with. Yeah, and I would say on the academic side of things, I've just been really fortunate to have some amazing supervisors. And like year one, I was able to like do a social skills group, facilitate a social skills group kind of on my own, which was really cool. And now being in the schools 2 days a week, I feel like I'm like getting to be a real person. So yeah, it's just, I can't say enough good things. And it's just such a great place to be. And I am happy that you're all on here learning more about it.
Thank you, Kim, and thanks, Brittany. It's great always to hear more about your experiences and how you found school psychology and what were the things that you're enjoying about the program. So that's wonderful. I was just looking at some of the questions in the chat box, and I think I can quickly answer a few of these, and then I'd love to hear from Kim and Brittany. So much of the coursework is overlapping between the EDS and PhD program. They are separate programs. So if you're interested in one over the other, we do consider applications differently for each of the programs. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then as far as research differences between the two, I would say EDS students have the opportunity to get involved in research, as do PhD students. I think most of the PhDs, I think there's just a difference in focus in terms of folks who are coming into the program. Most of our educational specialist students desire to be practicing school psychologists when they graduate, and those in the PhD program might have a different focus. So they may be more interested in like a research career as an academic, a faculty member, or they might be thinking about clinical practice in terms of becoming a licensed psychologist and having the opportunity to work in schools. So I think the focus might be slightly different, but both students from both programs can absolutely be involved in research with faculty in our program. And our cohorts are typically a variable. We typically admit about 15 students to our EDS program each year, and then anywhere from 5 to 8 students for our PhD program. So that's typically the cohorts are between like 20 and 25 students. And so I'm looking at the other questions, either Brittany or Kim. Somebody's asking, or Lauren's asking, how was it transitioning from undergrad to your graduate program? And then Megan asked how is classwork different from in the graduate program versus undergrad? So I don't know if one or both of you would like to address that.
I would say in terms of classwork, the main difference is that everything that we do, for the most part, I would say, I feel pretty confident. Most things that we do within our coursework in our graduate program is applied. So it's a lot less like, if not any, I really can't think of a class or a circumstance in which since I've been in the program where there's been like a study to the test. Like, it's just not that sort of vibe. Like, you're not going to be like cramming studying for like a multiple choice test. It's very much like everything you're doing is applied. So a lot more writing heavy, a lot more like project and presentation heavy, because it's just the nature of the learning, and being able to take information that we are learning and apply and make it more applied. So that would be the main difference that I can think of. Kim, do you have anything?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to like summarize it. And just that, like, kind of along those same lines, that it's like everything kind of feels like it matters. Things matter in undergrad, obviously, but like it just, everything feels more purposeful. And so like I find that I want to do more and like engage more with the material. And if I don't, like, that's on me. And you're engaging in this not because you have to, but because you want to be a good and competent school psychologist. So I don't know if that makes sense, but there's just kind of like Brittany said, it's like a different motivation, which makes like the coursework, I think, feel different. And then kind of transitioning from undergrad to graduate school, I think it's a really similar transition, kind of in a sense, to like from high school to undergrad, in that like it can feel bumpy at first, but like being able to like rely on people that are older than you and asking them questions is super helpful. And I think quickly you learn the ropes, if that makes sense. And it's really great to have the ability to talk to people that are in older cohorts that can really support you and make you feel like, okay, this is hard for everyone. And it's not hard forever. It definitely gets really manageable.
That's great. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Brittany. What other questions might folks have? So you can throw them in the chat box. You're welcome to unmute yourself, turn on your camera if you'd like, but we'd love to be able to answer any questions that you might have. And honestly, chances are if you're thinking about them, somebody else might be as well. And so feel free to jump in and ask whatever questions might be out there. Okay, Kim or Brittany, is there anything else that you would like to share that maybe we didn't get a chance to talk about? All right. So yeah, go ahead,
Sorry,
Kim.
I was just gonna
No,
say that
ahead.
feel free to like reach out to any current students. Like you can always email Katie or Andy or anyone and ask to be connected to us if you want to talk more one-on-one. I have talked to a few students that are even considering it, and it's been a really great experience for me. So that's always an option.
Yeah, I think just overall, the advice that I would give to anyone is to just really go with your gut in terms of once you're applying, the feeling of like the programs, if the decision process is where you end up being stuck or overthinking, I would just go with your gut, because as I think both Kim and I have alluded to, just like the passion behind what we do is really a driving force and is what makes, at the end of the day, everything we do all worth it. And so I think that like that's got to be where your like main driving point is. And so going with your passions and in your gut and how you feel is going to just ultimately be what's best for you. And in terms of experiences, courses, it sounds like from what I was reading that folks are all, at least in one field, that really applies in some way to our program. So any courses you're doing through that, I think would make sense. And then experiences, something that I found was really helpful, was just any experiences working with kiddos, like prior to coming in. So I had a job in undergrad working in a preschool, but aside from that, a lot of volunteer experiences where just any chance you get to work with kids, I think is super helpful.
Great. Any other questions that might be out there? And if you didn't see, I put our email addresses for the 4 of us in the chat box versus like sharing another screen. So if you have any questions afterwards, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, we really appreciate all of you being here. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I will say too, you know, beyond our program, there are hundreds of other, are there hundreds? Yeah, there's between like 150 and 200 school psychology programs out there across the country. So I'd encourage you to check those out as well. But definitely feel free to reach out if you have any other questions we can help with. Otherwise, thanks again for being here. And thanks, Maureen, for the opportunity to do this through SuccessWorks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
have a nice night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.